This will be my third company, and about a new search engine that shortens the distance between users and what they really want. Who here has heard of these terms before? It's obvious. If you work in tech, you have heard these terms. Maybe not Helena Fisher, but all of these terms have existed for a long time, as long as computer science has existed. Computers have always been able to crunch more numbers than humans can, and there has always been more data than we can crunch through by hand. So I'm going to talk to you. I'll bring back the relevance later about the first company I worked for. It's called Genentech. It's a biotech company. So Apple in the Silicon Valley has the address 1 infinite loop. Facebook has 1 hacker way, and Genentech is 1 DNA way. And what we did was we made biotech drugs, which meant that, for example, we don't make small molecules like a headache drug that lessens your pain throughout your body. We actually made something like an armed antibody, which binds to a specific factor on a tumor cell and releases the toxin. So it's very targeted. It's very, you can say, personalized drug. And in order to do that, we had to analyze this data. The human body has so many pathways, so many reactions that can happen. So in order to understand it and to actually figure out what targets we can use to design these drugs, we had to process a bunch of data. In the early 2000s, we had the human genome was sequenced, and that started a very the renaissance for biotech. So what did I do after this? I went to law school, and it was super fun, but not super relevant. So no, it's relevant in the business world. But I went back to tech, and I started my first company with my college roommate. We set out to build. So Amazon was already existing. They already had their recommendation engine. And we wanted to build something even better. We wanted to build a highly personalized recommendation engine for people who like to read. So as you can see, this recommendation engine currently exists on Goodreads. Who here has used Goodreads? Okay, a few people. So you can see on the right-hand side, I have several bookshelves that I have added books to. I express my interest to the website by creating these bookshelves, and I can customize them. So I have, cello books and learning Italian, design books and workbooks, and I can get specific recommendations based on these reading lists. But the system also learns my taste by and figures out categories I would enjoy, and you see that below their recommendations by shelf as well. So that's the system we built, and let's see. We also integrate this recommendation engine in the, this is the newsfeed. So in addition to seeing what your friends have been reading and have been rating, you also get personalized recommendations within the newsfeed. Talking about metric, more than half of the books our users add to their want-to-read list is from the recommendation engine. So this is a more than 100% lift. And when a user adds a book to their want-to-read list, it's a clear purchase intent. So after books, I kind of went back to my original passion, which is location search. But before doing that, there are some problems we had to solve. So in terms of, who here has heard of the Netflix prize? So Netflix put out this award, a $1 million award, that said if you can beat our recommendation engine by 10%, then you earn $1 million. And it spurred a lot of research in the 2000s. And in terms of the Netflix prize, there were 18,000 movies that people had to analyze the ratings of and make predicted ratings from. When we dealt with books, as you can see, people use all different kinds of tech to analyze this data. In terms of books, we had to deal with around 200,000 books, and we wrote a recommendation engine server in C++. But with places, I didn't want to just confine our recommendation engine to a market. I wanted to build something that scaled. So I set out to build something that easily scales for 2 million places. And good thing was Hadoop was just coming into existence, so I was able to build on top of that. So I'll show you the first demo. So let's say I'm searching for restaurants in Berlin. So the results, I'm not a designer, so this is not looking as pretty as it should be, but you can see the results are personalized. They're actually ordered by my personal taste. And for a lot of these places, you see a predicted rating, and it's recommended to me because I like these other places. We don't just take one and recommend things from that. We take your overall taste, and of course you can sort it by average. But the thing is, we don't usually go out to eat by ourselves. So what happens if so if I'm going out with my friend Mark, maybe my friend Owen, you see the results change a little bit. And you see the results that are recommended to all three of us, that are good for all three of us. So it takes all of our tastes into account to figure out what places are good for us. You can add filters. You can add a cost filter, and it'll still work the same way. No matter what filters you give it, what group of people, it'll still try to recommend the best places for all of you. And then, of course, I can switch. So, Mexican food places in San Francisco. Let's see. And you can also filter by, I want places that I can order online from. And it doesn't matter where you can order from, whether it's Yelp or Seamless or Grubhub. You can filter by that. And whatever filter you add, you still get personalized results. And our users actually come up with a pretty interesting case. Let's say I've never been to New Orleans, and I want to find restaurants in New Orleans. Well, these are my predicted results, but some of our users still felt it wasn't enough context. But on the left-hand side, you can see that, well, I know my friend Tony is a chef who came from New Orleans, so I'm just going to piggyback on his taste and see that, pretending that if we're going out together, what restaurants we'll go to. So I can actually use his taste to discover a new place. Okay, so that's demo number 1. So I spent about a year building that after I moved to Europe, and it took me a while. So when you're building something with an existing player like Yelp and Foursquare, you feel that you have something better, but it takes a lot more than that to build a business. And it took me a while to convince myself of that. And through our user feedback, we kind of discovered that, yes, they do like it. They do want personalized recommendations, but the business model for our company was still kind of far away. So, I kind of thought about that and kind of trying to decide if local search is done. But if local search is done, this is an op-ed from Bloomberg. If local search is done, then why do we have this problem? Does it mean like everything is just going to go to Amazon? I don't believe that. So I went back a little bit. I did a lot of thinking, thinking about what else can we do for local businesses. And I was moving more and more away from restaurants and thinking about shopping, the shopping experience. So there's already a lot of data everywhere on Yelp, on Foursquare, on Facebook, on the local businesses' websites that have a lot of information. And how do I make sense of that information, right? Like, just like every gene can produce RNA, DNA, proteins, every business has a ton of data. Right now, this is how we look at local search. The user sees, they do a search. Let's say the user searches for handbags. The search result they see is a list of places. And what they do is they browse through the first one, maybe look at some pictures and they go back. And sometimes they go to their website and then they come back. You know, when I think about drug discovery, then if you have to go through that process, then it's not really discoverable for the user. What if you flip these two around and you say, what if the user can search the data that exists and find the places that have those things they want? But this is more than just indexing all the pictures, right? As we mentioned before, there's a lot of data on each place. There are photos, there are reviews, there are specials, their social media presence, and their own websites. Similar to biological data, these are all analyzable and searchable. So it looks more like this, where the data that already exists on these places can inform the search result. So for example, what if someone wants to buy a handbag and they only want to search boutique shops? Then maybe we filter out the ones that are not relevant and only show them the data from boutique shops. So I'll show you another demo. So this is actually what you can see if you search for a handbag in San Francisco. You see the stores that, so every picture is tied to a location. But when I see that, I'm like, well, a lot of them are kind of in big department stores. And I know that for a fact that Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco has the sort of boutique stores that people would look for. So as you can see, it's a different result when you search in a different area. You can confine it to whatever neighborhood and you see what's being offered in that area. You can see works in Berlin. And the Parisians do have style, so you see some pretty cool results here. And one of my friends was visiting this one time. He asked me if he wants to buy paintings, and he didn't know where to go, and he didn't know what to search on. So I actually just tried it, and it's a little noisy, right? And this is what I talked about before. What if you can filter by things that exist on the businesses? You're actually searching inside, but you're filtering by the data that's individual to each business. Of course, you can search for other things. You can see which. I'm from San Francisco, so I love Mexican food, and from here I can actually see which quesadilla I might like. And when I was in Paris, so let's say if I'm in the Marais neighborhood in Paris and I want a croque madame, this is what you see. So you can actually see the exact item that you can consume. Another interesting case that our users came up with was what if you are looking to set up a meeting in San Francisco and you're looking for a conference room? Again, a little noisy, but if you filter by event planning, then you see actually the conference rooms that are available in San Francisco. So that's the end of the second demo. So my goal in the future, what I really want to do is to figure out making even more of the connections within the data that already exists. For example, if you look at two photos, you're trying to determine how they're related, you can either do it by the text around these photos. You know, each photo exists on a website, so you can determine by context, or you can see how users interact with these photos, whether people who like these photos also like these, but make them searchable. And that's also based on the kind of the recommendation technology we've built before. Or you can just analyze the photo to see what attributes you can get from the photos. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for having me here. And I would like to say I'm pretty new to Berlin, but and this is a fairly new project after a few iterations, but I'm looking for people who are interested in these things, who might want to work together. Yeah, thank you.
Questions?
How do you link the pictures to the search results?
For example,
where the data comes from?
Yes,
From everywhere.
team, and they have handbags.
Yeah.
They don't have a picture of a handbag from their site or something. Like, how do you link?
So we do use, so when I log in with my Facebook, I give the site my Facebook token, so I can actually search on Facebook, search on Foursquare. Yelp API doesn't provide photo searches yet. So yeah, things like that. So data already exists all over the web, right? And not just these places, but Pinterest, Instagram, they're everywhere. So, but it's not a simple fact of importing the data. You have to make sense of it. Otherwise, the search is too noisy. So what we're trying to do is to make more and more sense of the data that exists. So, yeah.
But would it show actually the result of a boutique that doesn't have any pictures of handbags?
If users somewhere might have uploaded it. So you're asking if the business hasn't already claimed, or if they don't have any.
Because it showed this handbag, right? What I was imagining is like this little shop. They have an internet presence or something.
Yeah.
They have handbags. They have wonderful handbags, but they don't have pictures of them.
User content is everywhere. You know, Yelp has a ton of content, but so does Instagram, so does Pinterest, so does content is everywhere.
So what's a good way to match different places to each other? The idea to use factual, or do you do it?
So that's internal, I think.
But there's so many things. There are attributes, there's user behavior. There's so many ways to match the places.
No, I mean, you get the question like, the handbag photo on Foursquare is on place named XYZ.
Yeah.
On Instagram, it's maybe a slightly different name, something like that. Is that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, like, data is dirty and incomplete out there. And
So did you do the matching, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the first question. So if I would have one, the last time actually looked like Pinterest on location-based services. Have you considered to work with them? Because I mean, it looks quite similar.
The funny thing is,
I have a good friend who invested in Pinterest early on, and she was like, "You should join Pinterest." and there were like 4 people, and I was like, "I don't get it." Like, no. Maybe in the future, but I like living in Berlin, so I think I'm going to work from here.
Maybe for you, they bring the office, right? So
Yeah, maybe.
okay, cool. Yeah, then thanks again.